Hello everyone. Please give a shout out on the YouTube live chat if you are online and you can see me. Hello Ziting. Yes, I see you. If you can see and hear me clearly, please give a shout out. Good morning, Reese, Xavier, wonderful. Okay, great. Okay, Chun Hong, wonderful. Can you all see and hear me? Shaden, hi, good morning. Important thing is if you can see and hear me clearly, do give me a thumbs up if you're able to do that. Give me an emoticon thumbs up. Hello, Jin Xian. Hi, Joyce. Great of you to join us. Okay, great, wonderful. All right, so all of you early birds, welcome. I will be starting in about 8 minutes time. Just let the others join us as they are waking up. Some of you may have woken up a little earlier this morning because it's the holiday, so I'll give you about a couple more minutes to join in. Right? Yeah, great. I see your thumbs up. Thank you, Xavier, Chun Hong, Shaden. Great. So it sounds and looks like I am online and there isn't very much of an issue with the lag. Great. Right, you figured out how to give me the thumbs up. Wonderful. Okay, so today, for those of you who are a little early, I will be concentrating on the reading aloud element in your oral examinations. And we're going to be looking at a sample passage. Hello, Jia En, welcome. So for those of you who aren't aware, I'm streaming live from somewhere near to Perth, all right? So I'm in Australia for a short break and I will be doing this live stream, a short one. Today it will only have about half an hour. Firstly, because the connection here isn't very stable, and secondly, because I think you guys want to have a longer and undisturbed break, so I won't be taking up too much of your time. Okay, great. I can see that Jia En just was able to hear what I was saying about me being on break. That's wonderful. Okay, some of you are still messaging me on WhatsApp. Yes, I have indeed started my live stream. Alison, please join in as quickly as you can. Okay, right. So a couple more minutes. Let the others stream in. Anyways, while we're waiting, maybe you guys have any questions you might want to ask me about anything. How are you guys spending your holidays? Is everybody back in Singapore? Is anybody traveling? Is anybody watching me from a different country? Maybe if you are, you can just send me a short message. Right, hi Jared, welcome. Let's see how many people are currently participating in this live stream. Let's see. Okay, let's have the participant list. All right, great. We have more than 10 people at the moment. Wonderful, more will come in. Hi Alison. Okay, great, good to see you. All right, let's see. We currently have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 participants. That's great. Welcome to the live stream. It's pretty chilly here in Perth. Looks like the temperature for today is 16 degrees, but it's nice and sunny out. So after this live stream, hi Caleb, I'm heading up to the vineyards for a little walk. And yep, won't keep you guys too long, half an hour. We'll end this live stream, we'll aim to end it by 10:30 a.m. sharp. Hello, Justin. All right, more and more of us are streaming in, that's wonderful. I hope to be able to hit at least half of you today, about 20 of you. So that will be good. The rest of you who aren't able to join us for this live stream, don't worry. I will post the video recording on Edmodo and you can refer to it before you start doing the assignment. So please remember that this live stream is tied to an assignment. Hello, Dea. Right, welcome. Please remember that this live stream is tied to an assignment that I need all of you to do before our next live stream on a date and a time I will announce. So please try to finish this. It's a short and easy exercise. All I need you to do is to record yourself reading the sample passage that I will be going through today with all of the pointers that I will be reviewing with you. Okay, so don't worry, all the instructions have already been posted on Edmodo, and I will also be looking into posting some samples of myself going through these passages so you can refer to it. Okay, Charlene, if you can't hear me, you've got to maybe restart. Yeah, turn up the volume because the rest of the kids are able to. Okay, so it's probably something going on your end. Check your phone or your computer settings, right? Hi, Chloe, Shaden, right? Great. So please help each other along, right? I will be starting in another 4 minutes, so it's okay, no worries. Maybe you can turn the stream off and relaunch your YouTube application, Charlene. Maybe that might help. Okay. Anyways, try your very best. Restart your phone or laptop. Restart YouTube again, or restart the application and see if the volume comes on. Right. Everybody else seems to be all right. If you're not able to after the things that you've tried, that will be raising on the live chat as I go along with this presentation. Okay. All right, let's just give everybody else 3 more minutes. I'll be starting in 3 minutes time. Okay, let's see. Great. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. All right, 14 participants. Wonderful. Okay, I hope that you managed to solve the problem, Charlene. Okay, let's see. Excellent. Those of you who are able to, could you please just spread the word to the rest and see if they're able to log on? We'll be starting in about 2.5 minutes time. Good morning, JJ, all the way from Nagoya, I see. Hope Japan is doing well with you, or you're doing well with Japan. Right, please help me thank your mom for all the photos that she sent. Okay, Charlene's still having some issues. All right, okay. All right, okay, Jasin, same thing. Please restart your device or app if you cannot hear me. All right, yep. Because the majority of the participants seem to have no issue, so I don't think that it's an issue on my end. It's probably either your phone, laptop, or iPad. So my advice to you is try to tune in using your laptop or iPad. The iPhone or the phone screen is a little too small, and sometimes there are some issues with the microphones and all of that. So do try to tune in on a different device. Tune in on a different device if you are having issues. Okay, that's my advice. You could try to restart the device or the app, right? Okay, we are almost about to begin. 1 more minute and we will begin the live stream proper. Let me just check up. Some of you are restarting. Okay, that's good. No worries. Join in when you can, Charlene. Hello, Martin. Welcome to the live stream. Today we are covering a very quick review of our reading aloud passages in the oral examinations. As you all know, the oral exams are right on top of us. Once we get back to school in term 4, the exams will literally be around the corner. So this is a little bit of a review so that we can save some time and get right down to preparing in the first week. All right, Jared, welcome back. Okay, I hope that the others are able to. Let me just send a quick message. Yes, Ziting, I know, I will be starting very shortly. All right, so please restart your device or app if you are having problems seeing or hearing me. All right, boys and girls, it's 10:01 a.m. and I'm going to begin the presentation, all right? As I go along, I will stop at various junctions to allow you to ask questions. So while I'm presenting, please pay close attention. And when I stop to ask questions and to discuss, that will be when you can send me messages, all right? So welcome to my first live stream from Australia. In case any of you are not aware, I'm currently on break in somewhere near Perth, and it's a nice chilly 16 degrees out. And today we're going to review the reading aloud passages in your oral examinations. Okay, so this is for your oral examinations coming up in week 2, Monday of term 4. All right, so without further ado, let's get into the assessment rubric. So as you all know, as oral examiners, when we assess you for your reading, we are looking for 6 main elements of your reading that will push you to the highest band, the highest level of achievement. And these are listed here in the rubric. So I'm going to go through them very quickly. Good pronunciation, clear articulation, appropriate rhythm and stress that gives you a well-paced, fluent reading of the passage, appropriate variation of pitch and tone in order to convey the information, the ideas and the feelings in the passage that's given. Okay, so I'm going to concentrate your attention on these 6 elements once again. They are pronunciation, how well you pronounce each word, articulation, the clarity with which you speak so that your words are easily heard and understood, rhythm, which is the pace at which you're reading, so it's smooth, the stress that you place upon each word. So some words are more important than others. You need to stress them. The pitch, everything should vary. You shouldn't be reading at one pitch throughout the entire passage. So there should be variation of pitch, which leads to the last point on tone. So the voice quality that you're using, the differentiation between the different characters in your passage, those have to be very clearly heard as you are reading the passage. All right, so these are the 6 elements that oral examiners generally listen out for when you're reading a passage out loud. All right? Okay, at this point, I want to pause for a while and open up for any questions that you might have about these words, because they're rather difficult words and some of you may not be sure about the meaning of some of these words. So I can explain them again. So pronunciation, articulation, rhythm, stress, pitch, and tone. Are there any questions that you have? All right, no worries. Like I said, those of you who have any technical issues, just tag along. We will continue with this recording, and later on, after the recording is over, I will post in Moodle with the full transcript of what I've covered, as well as the video. Okay? All right, so any questions about these 6 pointers? Stress, okay. So the word stress doesn't mean like I'm feeling very stressed and I feel under a lot of pressure. No, this word stress simply means that I read a particular word with more emphasis, all right? When I say more emphasis, I might say give that word a bit more weight. So for example, if I say I am in trouble, the sentence I am in trouble, right? I might wish to stress the word trouble more because it is the important word that carries the meaning of my sentence. So I am in trouble. Notice that I've given the word trouble a bit more weight. I am in trouble. Exactly, Alison, it's being more expressive with the word. All right, very good. So I hope I answered your question, Xavier. Articulation, very good. Articulation has to do with the clarity with which you read each word. All right, so sometimes people tend to mumble and you can't really hear what they're saying, and it's very, very unclear what they're saying. Every word blends into the next word. You can't really hear the words clearly. That's bad articulation. Whereas if you notice, I'm speaking now very clearly with each word that I'm speaking. You can hear how each word is distinct from the other, but yet is still linked. All right, so that's articulation, right? No worries, I will go into some examples later on to show you exactly what is articulation. Okay, very good. Good questions. Thank you, Chloe. I hope that give you a little bit more of an idea. Articulation has to do with clarity of reading, okay? How each word doesn't blend into the next. Yes, it means to speak clearly, but it has to do with how you pronounce the words as well. So it's pronunciation and clarity of expression, okay? Right, so without further ado, let me move on to the next section. So hold your horses and your questions for the next junction. Okay, so for those of you who have been with me from primary 3 and 4, you'll remember that I always emphasize the 3 P's, right? The 3 P's are pronunciation, punctuation, and person. And very conveniently, these 3 P's actually kind of cover the 6 elements that the oral examiners are looking out for. All right, so I've kind of indicated them over here with the arrows. So you'll notice that pronunciation and articulation fall under the first P, which is pronunciation, obviously, right? Rhythm, pace, and to a certain extent stress falls under punctuation, because the punctuation marks give you a very good idea about the pace at which you should read the passage, the starts, the stops, and how long you should stop, and which words you should stress based on whether it's an exclamation mark or it's a question mark. Those affect the rhythm, the pace, and the stress of your reading. And finally, the pitch and the tone fall into the person, because knowing which character you are currently reading allows you to vary your pitch and tone so that the reader can hear the difference, say, between your narrator, your supporting character, and your main character in a reading passage. Okay, so I hope that these 3 P's will help you to better remember the 6 elements that you need to always be keeping in mind when you are reading a passage. Okay, so pronunciation, punctuation, and person, the 3 P's, right? So for those of you who are new, you've just joined me this year, these 3 P's are going to be very often repeated in many of my future presentations. So try to commit these 3 P's to your memory, okay? Pronunciation, punctuation, and person. And they unfold the 6 elements of a good reading of the passage. Okay, so let's move on from the 3 P's to the sample script for today. So I've taken this sample script from the Word document I posted in Edmodo. So you'll find the full script in Edmodo, and this full script contains a much longer passage than this. I've just taken an extract of it, and I'm using it now to illustrate the 3 P's, right? How, as a reader, I would prepare myself in the 5 minutes given to me before I enter the examination room and face the examiners to read the script. What would I do to prepare myself so that I can give as close to a flawless performance as possible? And I'm going to use 3 color codes. If you noticed before, I have color-coded pronunciation yellow, I've color-coded punctuation red, and I've color-coded person blue. So I'm going to progressively bring you through this short extract and show you how I prepare for punctuation, pronunciation, and person. All right, beginning, of course, with pronunciation. Okay, so take a look at the sections of the word, the consonants that have been highlighted yellow. Okay, and perhaps while you're doing that, I'll just look at whether there's any questions. Okay. All right, very good. So there's a bit of a discussion in the live chat going on now about the difference between pronunciation and articulation. Well, there is a difference. Pronunciation is how you sound out the entire word, right? And articulation is how each word fits next to the other without blending into each other and sounding unclear. So remember, the word I used just now was mumbling, right? So mumbling is very bad because it interferes with your articulation. So you pronounce each word distinctly next to the other so that they sound like distinct words. But at the same time, you link them one to another so that they form a sentence as you're reading. Okay? So I'm going to give you an example right now. I'm just going to be reading the first paragraph. So listen very carefully to how I model pronunciation and articulation. Okay? Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. To their surprise, although there were no vacant seats, There was still space further in, and the train was not as crowded as they had thought. The problem was that most of the commuters who were standing had not made an effort to move in. Okay, so notice that I'm very careful, especially with the N consonants, right? The consonants that end the word. So just managed, right? Can you hear the T and the T, right? The T and the D must be distinct so that I am showing the examiner I am consciously reading out the ends of the words. But be very careful not to exaggerate or overread the word. So just would be a bit too much. So Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train. So notice just managed. I didn't go just managed, right? So don't overread, just enough to make it clear to the examiner that you recognize the N consonants, all right? So one very quick strategy would be to look at most of the N consonants that end with D, T, and S. All right? Okay, no worries. Like I said, Charlene, if you're having issues, just try your very best to continue to tune in and review the video later on for a more smooth performance. Okay? So in the meantime, just try your best. There's nothing that Mr. Pang or anybody else can do to help you with the technical issues. So if you really cannot follow because it's too much pausing, then just stop viewing and review the video later on. All right? Okay, in the meantime, for those of you who are able to listen in, please let's just focus on the lesson. I will not have time to go through all the technical issues, otherwise we won't end at 10:30. All right? So I'll just say it finally. Please do not ask any more questions on technical issues, and try to keep the focus on the discussion that we're having on oral, okay? All right, so let's move on. Okay, so like I said, word endings are very important. So let's go into the next slide. I'm going to be talking about two main things that you need to pay attention to for pronunciation, right? There are many, but I'm just going to focus on two. Right, so first of all is the word the. Many of you make this mistake, you're not aware of it. Before a word that begins with a vowel, the word the is pronounced differently. Okay, so let's take a look at this example from the passage. People should not just stand near the doors, right? So notice the word doors begins with the consonant D. It's not a vowel, so the is pronounced the doors. However, in the next sentence, we find that the word the is next to the word entrance, which begins with the vowel sound eh. Entrance, eh, right? Vowel sound, eh. Therefore, I do not read this word as the any longer. I read it as the. So they are blocking the entrance. The entrance. Notice it's no longer the entrance, it's the entrance, because entrance begins with the vowel sound eh. Entrance. People should not just stand near the doors. They are blocking the entrance and others cannot board, Tom boldly commented. All right, so the doors, the entrance. And briefly below are some vowel sound examples that change the way we read the word the, right? The becomes the. So that's the first point. All right. Wonderful. Any questions at this point before I move on to the next area that I want you to pay attention to, pronunciation? Wonderful. Great. Okay, so next point. So remember the first point, the. Be very careful. There aren't usually that many examples of this happening in a reading passage, but they do throw it in every now and again just to trick you. So be very careful. The doors, the entrance. When you post your reading on Edmodo, I would like to hear that the becomes the next to entrance. Okay? Right. Next, final consonants, like I was mentioning. Okay? Do not ignore or drop the final consonants. Okay? So let me take this sentence as an example. Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. Okay, so notice there are S, D, T sounds. These are the most commonly dropped final consonants in Singaporean English. Very often we are lazy and we tend to just read the word without its end consonant. I'll give you an example of a reading of this sentence without the final consonant or the end consonants, and you see whether you can hear it. Okay? Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. So, do you hear it? Just manage. Just manage. Just manage. Yeah? Close behind them. Close behind them. Right? Notice the D, the T, and the S is kind of lost and dropped. Right? Examiners are very sensitive to this, so be very careful that you take the time to sound out the T, the D, and the S. Now, this obviously also means that you can't be reading too quickly. Many of you make this mistake. You read at a bullet train breakneck speed. And as you're reading so quickly, you don't have the time to sound out the word properly. So Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. Right? Notice, slow and steady. If you go, Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. See, too fast. No way you can sound out the end consonant. So do not ignore or drop the final or end consonants. All right? Any questions here? All right? So notice here that the end consonants, T, D, and S, are the most commonly dropped ones. Okay, so be extra careful when a word ends with the letter T, ends with the letter D, or ends with the letter S. Okay, so if you're very careful, you should be able to sound these words out clearly and let the examiner know you are being very attentive to your pronunciation. Okay, so just to summarize very quickly, under pronunciation, two things to note. One is the and the. Two is T, D, and S, end or final consonants. All right, Alison asks, will we get marks deducted if we miss the end consonants? Well, the examiner will be listening to your reading of the passage as a whole. So if you drop or miss out one or two, that doesn't affect your marks. But if you're consistently missing out end consonants all throughout your reading, then yes, it will affect your marks. Remember, it goes towards articulation, the clarity of your pronunciation. So pronounce and articulate words clearly to get the top band. If you're not articulating or pronouncing the end consonants or the final consonants, then you will drop by a band or even two. Okay, so if you're consistently not reading the endings of words, I would say the maximum you can score is between a 7 and an 8 out of 10. If you want to get into the 9-10 region out of 10, then you're going to need to be very consistent. Maybe one or two errors, no penalty for that, all right? There is no time limit for reading out loud, all right? But please don't read at a painful snail slow pace either, okay? So read at a reasonable pace like what I just demonstrated. Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. This is a good speed, right? Don't go at a breakneck speed. Don't go at a snail slow pace, okay? Now, let's move on to the next section, pronunciation, right? Next one is punctuation, right? Punctuation. Now, a very quick point to note under punctuation, please do not stop reading at the end of the line, okay? So notice over here, the word the, the word the, the, is at the end of the line, but there's no punctuation there. But many of you, when you're reading a passage, when you come to the end of the line, you stop. Then you go back to the beginning of the next line and then you start again. Please do not do that. Let me give you an example. Let me read the sentence, all right? Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. Did you hear? Did you hear that pause I made before the? right? So Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. Don't do that. What you should do is this. Ben and Tom had just managed to squeeze into the train before the doors closed behind them. All right? The train should not be divided or separated by a pause, right? There is no comma there. Always only read according to the punctuation marks. Do not read to the end of the line and pause, okay? So as you'll notice, I have highlighted all the punctuation marks in red. And very quickly, remember that punctuation controls the pace of the reading, right? Full stops are worth 2 beats, all right? So silently in your head, wait for 2 beats. Commas are worth 1 beat, so silently in your head, wait for 1 beat. Okay, exclamations indicate something that's moving a bit faster because the person speaking is excited or angry, right? Commas, questions, sorry, there's an error here. It's not commas. Question marks indicate a slight decrease in speed because the person is uncertain or questioning, are you sure? So notice it's, are you sure? There's a slight slowdown and a longer sound to sure because the person isn't sure, is uncertain, okay? All of this combines to create rhythm and pace. Remember the 6 elements, rhythm and pace in your reading. And above all things, avoid staccato or word-by-word reading. Don't go, not so loud, Tom. We wouldn't want to get ourselves into trouble. Please don't do that because you will fail your reading aloud if you do staccato word-by-word reading. Okay, so avoid that at all costs. So now I'm going to demonstrate to you how I would read this with the commas and the full stops in place. Not so loud, Tom. We wouldn't want to get ourselves into trouble, so let's just move in. Ben, who was the timid one, whispered. All right, so I don't know if you can hear, but my commas are about half the length of my full stop. So my full stops are longer, my commas are half as long. 2 beats to 1. Okay? At this point, any questions? Yes, very much so, right? So you'll notice that I did wait for 1 beat. Is there a punctuation mark? No, there is not a punctuation mark. But remember, I marked the earlier, Chloe, because it was at the end of the line and I didn't want you to read the as the pause before the next line, right? So that's why I put it in red. I presume that's why you're asking. Okay, so yes, commas always a beat and full stops always 2 beats. Let me demonstrate again. So I'm starting with not so loud, okay? Not so loud, Tom. Okay, let me beat that out for you. Not so loud, Tom. We wouldn't want to get ourselves into trouble, so let's just move in. Ben, who was the timid one, whispered. Okay, so that kind of goes in that way. So, but don't clap out loud in the exams, right? Be very careful you don't do that. But do that in your head, and when you're practicing, do that so that you kind of get the pace and the rhythm of the reading. So the punctuation controls the pace and the rhythm of the reading. Be very careful of that, all right? Is there anybody with any questions at this point? If not, I'll move into the next part, okay? Right, which is a word about word stress, okay? So like I said, words in the passage have different stresses depending on how important they are, all right? So more important words should be stressed or read with more force. So in this short extract, right, the one we just read, the words loud and trouble would be important because they are the keywords that Ben is trying to convey to his friend Tom, right? So, not so loud, Tom. We wouldn't want to get ourselves into trouble. So let's just move in. Ben, who was the timid one, whispered. So the words timid and whispered also tell us about Ben. So I stressed timid and whispered as well. I'm not sure if you could hear it, but I gave it a bit more weight, right? So not so loud, Tom. We wouldn't want to get ourselves into trouble. So let's just move in. I actually even emphasize move in because that's the action, right? That Ben wants Tom to follow. Okay, so word stress is important as well. So let me just recap on this. Under the section on punctuation, we remember that punctuation controls the pace, and word stress tells us the words that are important, and that also controls the pace of the reading. All right, so we give a bit more attention, volume, and emphasis on the words that are more important. All right. Okay. Great. Any questions at this point in time? I'll just pause for a short while. We are coming to an end. I should be able to finish in the next 5 minutes. Since I started at 10:01, I should be able to finish by 10:31. All right, and if there are no questions after this, I will allow those of you who have to go off to log off at about 10:31. All right, so no questions. That's wonderful. At this point in time, let me just check. Okay. All right. Okay, I hope there are no more questions. Great. All right, so now let's move on to the last section, which is on person. All right, so arguably this is the P that separates your performance the most. Okay, so your ability to dramatize or make your character seem different is extremely important. Okay, so in this particular script, all right, there are 3 main characters. Let me just go very quickly over here. Right, so person controls pitch, tone, and expression. So I need to know who are the persons in this passage. There are 3. Right, first, the narrator, the person who is telling the story, the reader, you. All right, so the storyteller is generally quite matter of fact. He's not too excitable. He's not too dramatic. He's quite neutral in his reading, but he does still stress important words. Okay. So I will give him a 0 on the scale of energy. Tom, the main character, who in this passage is angry, he's loud, he's bold, I will give him a +2. So I would need to raise my pitch and my tone for Tom because he is the angry, loud, and bold character. And then Ben, who is the supporting character, is rather timid. He's whispering, he's soft, he's uncertain. So I will give him a -2. So in the way I read Ben, I would read him a little softer. Okay, so again with my pitch and my tone, I would go down, a -2. So narrator is neutral, 0. Tom is a +2, he's loud and bold. And Ben is a -2, he's soft and uncertain. Okay? All right, so you must be able to demonstrate the difference between these 3 levels. All right? Narrator, neutral. Tom, loud, bold, +2. Ben, soft, timid, uncertain, a -2. Okay, so this is how I would read these 3 different characters, and this passage that I've chosen contains all 3 of these characters side by side. So listen carefully, right, as I do that. Okay, let me just very quickly check. All right. Okay, so the problem was that most of the commuters who were standing had not made an effort to move in. People should not just stand near the doors. They are blocking the entrance and others cannot board, Tom boldly commented. Not so loud, Tom. We wouldn't want to get ourselves into trouble, so let's just move in, Ben, who was the timid one, whispered. All right, so notice the difference between the narrator, who is more neutral, Tom, who is more excited, and Ben, who is more timid and soft. Okay, so show the difference between the 3 characters. All right, so that's person. Remember to apply these 3 P's when you are reading your passage, and that's where your 5 minutes of preparation and making sure that you're reading through the passage in your head comes in. All right, before you enter into the exam room, use these 3 P's to guide the way you analyze the passage, break it down, and pay attention to these different elements so that when you go in, you're able to very consciously and very deliberately hit all of these 6 elements, right? Pronunciation, articulation, rhythm, stress, pitch, and tone. All right, so remember these 3 P's and make sure that you consciously apply them. So by way of an exercise for today as homework, right? Your turn. This is what you're going to do for today. before I end today's live stream. Record yourself reading the passage I posted on Edmodo. That's the full passage, the full-length passage of Tom, Ben, and the narrator. It's almost identical to the examples that I've shared, but it's longer, so you have more runway to practice what I've just taught you. Post this recording as an attachment and submit it on Edmodo under the assignment September Holidays Oral Review Part 1. Okay? If you can't, for any reason, submit it via an attachment on Edmodo, you can, as a last resort, record your reading as an audio file on WhatsApp and send it to me via WhatsApp, okay? And that should enable me to have a listen to it, and then I will post my comments as well as your grade, the grade that you score upon 10 in Edmodo. So go back to Edmodo and check your performance there, all right? At this point in time, are there any questions? Yes, Martin, exactly. You would talk normally as a narrator, but remember to emphasize important words. Yes, you raise your voice, increase the intensity, a little bit of the speed, inject anger into your voice as Tom, and whisper, because in Ben's case, he's whispering. He's trying not to draw attention to himself. Very good. Okay, yes, Chloe, different personalities, different reading styles. As long as the examiner can hear the difference in levels between the three, you have successfully hit the pointer on variation of pitch and tone, which is under person, right? Wonderful. Okay, so again, a very quick review of the three elements: pronunciation, punctuation, and person. These enfold the 6 elements of pronunciation, articulation, rhythm, stress, pitch, and tone. Okay? So, any more questions? I hope I answered your question, Martin. Yes, very good. Right, so everybody, please do your homework. It's really short. It shouldn't take you more than 5 minutes to look at the passage and then record yourself reading it. I will give you feedback on Edmodo about how you've done, what you can improve, okay? But I need to hear you read the passage. And remember, punctuation, pronunciation, and person, all right? And each of these 3 P's will help you to perform at the highest band level for your reading aloud, okay? Be very conscious of how you read. Be very deliberate in avoiding these mistakes or these areas that I've told you not to practice. And I look forward to hearing your recording, all right? At this point, if there's no questions, you may log off. It's 10:33. I overran by 2 minutes, but I guess that's okay. All right, any more questions, please let me know. If you were not able to catch this live stream because of some technical issues, I apologize. It could be that the stream was not very stable because of my location, or it could be that you're having some issues with your own devices. Nonetheless, no worries. Like I said, I will post this, record it, and then upload it as a video file for all of you to view at your own convenience, okay? If you have any questions that arise from this video, if you still need some clarification, please drop me a message and I will reply to you with some form of an explanation. Okay? Alright, if not, then thank you very much for tuning in, everyone. It was lovely having you, and I will post any more updates via Edmodo and to your parents as well. Okay? If not, then goodbye, and I'll see all of you soon. You're very welcome, Chin Xian. Bye.